Hi, so I'm continuing with Cost Accounting Unit 3, Part 3. And here we'll start with idle time, ideally, idle time. Idle time represents time lost by workers who are paid on time basis. When workers are paid on the time basis, some difference between the time for which they are paid and that which they actually spend on production. Classification of idle time: normal idle time, abnormal idle time. Normal idle time. Normal idle time is time taken by the workers to reach their department from factory to gate, setting up tools, equipments, and machines, moving from one job to another, in attending their personal needs, tea and lunch, minor accident to any workers. So all these come under normal idle time. Abnormal idle time. Major breakdown of machinery, power failure due to external cause, major accident to workers, improper planning by the management, non-availability of material in the market, fire, floods, storms, earthquakes, etc. come under abnormal idle time. Overhead costs. According to CIMA, overhead costs are defined as the total cost of indirect materials, indirect labor, and indirect expenses. Examples of overhead expenses are rent, taxes, depreciation, maintenance, repairs, supervision, selling and distribution expenses, marketing expenses, factory lighting, printing, stationery, etc. Classification of overheads: factory overhead, office and administrative, selling and distribution. So these are the classification of overheads. Factory overhead will include indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses. Office and administration will include indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses. Selling and distribution will include indirect material, indirect labor, indirect expenses. Allocation of overheads. Allocation is the process by which cost items are charged directly to a cost unit or cost center. For example, electricity charges can be allocated to various departments if separate meters are installed, and salary of stores clerk can be allocated to stores department. Cost of coal used in boiler can be directly allocated to boiler house of division. Case 1. B Limited has 2 production departments and 2 service departments. The following data is provided. Here, direct materials. So you have the main so direct materials, direct wages, direct expenses, and indirect materials, indirect wages. So under these headings, the we are going to see how much it works out for production department and service department. So production department A, in production department there's A and B, in service department C and D. So you basically make columns, and in one column you have the description, and in the second column you break it into two. Second column is production department, which again you split into two. Third column is service department, which you again split into two. And this is what information is provided in your page. So direct materials in production department A comes to 40,000, production department B 30,000, service department C under C production department is, as I just repeat, just forget what I just now said, I'll repeat again. Case 1. So we are looking at B Limited has 2 production departments and 2 service departments, and we have the production department has A and B, service department has C and D. So we are going to look at what is the data. Direct materials for production department. For A it is 40,000 under production department, for B it is 30,000. Service department under for C it is 20,000 and for D it is 10,000. Direct wages. In production department for A it is 20,000, B it is 15,000. In service department for C it is 10,000 and D it is 5,000. Direct expenses. In production department for A it is 10,000, for B it is 7,500. For in service department for C it is 5,000 and for D it is 2,500. Indirect materials. For production department A it is 5,000, production department B it is 5,000, service department C it is 5,000 and service department D it is 5,000. Indirect wages, for production department A it is 2,500, production department B it is 1,500, service department C it is 5,000 and service department D it is 4,000. So this is how it looks. So the common indirect expenses is equals to rupees 20,000. So you are required to prepare a statement showing the allocation of overheads. Absorption of overheads. In simple words, absorption means charging equitable share of overhead expenses to the products. As the overhead expenses are indirect expenses, the absorption is to be made on some suitable basis. The basis is the absorption rate, which is calculated by dividing the overhead expenses by the base selected. Illustration. A firm produces 2 products, A and B. Direct material cost for A are rupees 2,50,000 and for B rupees 1,50,000. The overheads will be charged to these products as shown in the following statement, assuming the rate of absorption as 50% as shown above. So what we have is, in the first column we have particulars, second column product A and product, third column product B. So direct materials DM for product A is 2,50,000, for product B is 1,50,000. Overheads 50% of DM for product A is 1,25,000, for product B is 75,000. So total DM plus overheads for product A comes to 3,75,000 and for product B 2,25,000. This method is suitable in those organizations where material is a dominant factor in the total cost structure. Over versus under absorption. If actual production overheads of a period is absorbed at an absorption rate on actual production during a period, the overhead absorbed must be equal to the actual overhead costs incurred. But this seldom happens, especially when predetermined overhead rates are applied. Since there are seasonal differences, the difference between the budgeted overheads and actual overheads incurred is bound to happen. The difference between overheads charged and the overheads incurred is called the under or over absorption of overheads. When overheads absorbed exceeds the actual overheads, it is called over absorption, and when actual overheads exceeds the overheads absorbed, it is called under absorption of OH. So that is about it. We have come to the end of Unit 3 of your cost accounting lesson notes for the BCom CA students in the 3rd semester. Thank you.